My name is Angela Pugliese, and this is my action research proposal.
Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. I'm wearing Cuban links.
Based on what you just read, can you answer these questions? Who is the source? What is the main idea? What evidence does Pericles use to prove his point? Overall, how well did you complete your task? How well did you comprehend the information? How much of a distraction did the multiple forms of media prove to be for you personally? This is just a small representation of what our students go through on a daily basis when multiple forms of media are interrupting their concentration and focus while they're completing assignments. After observing this behavior in my classroom, I developed the following research question. What impact does social media multitasking have on student retention and classwork completion? In order to understand this question, we need to understand a few of the terms. By social media multitasking, I mean the ability of students to toggle back and forth between multiple forms of media, such as Instagram, Twitter, or Spotify, and engage in them simultaneously. By retention, I mean comprehension of content, and by classwork completion, I mean students' abilities to finish an assignment given in class. My literature review gave me the opportunity to further examine these topics. One of the benefits of social media use in the classroom is collaboration with more than just the students within the classroom. Additionally, students use social media to process their own worlds, and when we bring this into the classroom, we can use that same familiar tactic. Some students also take more responsibility and ownership for their work when they know it will be shared on such a public forum, and that forum allows for dynamic new approaches to learning. However, there are some risks concerning liability where teachers have been fired over social media posts. Some students also have difficulty separating the media from the learning as they get overly caught up in the social media part of it. Some researchers have addressed concerns over reading and writing because of texting conventions and acronyms that replace actual word and grammar usage. The most important factor is the potential of cyberbullying, which can affect students' self-esteem, anxiety, and sadness, all of which can affect both their work quality and their ability to even attend school. As far as the effects on learning, there can be a broader evolution of knowledge with the expanses of social media, and researchers believe there's a potential to eliminate gender and race expectancy for performance because of the anonymity of it. However, extended video viewing, such as on YouTube or Netflix, has been shown to result in reduced attention span, poor imagination scores, and low visual memory. Studies have also shown a negative correlation with learning outcomes, specifically grades. As for the effects of media multitasking on learning, students can develop skills that allow them to process large amounts of information at once in the way they do with media multitasking. Researchers also suggest multitasking in the form of short breaks from lecture or extended class periods. However, media multitasking has shown a decline in critical thinking skills because students are no longer taking the time to work deeply through content. There's also been a correlation with executive functions related to working memory that can have serious effects on learning. Another alarming detriment is that even if a student themselves is not engaging in multitasking, being in direct view of a peer who is can lead to negative effects on performance and comprehension for that student. Researchers also worry that this off-task activity can become a habitual distraction where students are going straight to social media sites without even realizing what they're doing. My action research paradigm is Lewin's model for action research. My initial idea was that social media multitasking has a significant impact on retention and classwork. I then conducted my literature review in order to find existing evidence regarding this idea. Next, I chose my assessments for the experiment, which are fill-in paragraphs in the Renaissance, exit tickets, and a survey on social media usage during the assignment. My first action step was for students to complete assessments in both stages, which I will explain shortly, and to then evaluate the differences between exit ticket scores and time taken to complete the fill-ins. My amended plan and further action would be dependent upon those results. My research design is quasi-experimental, meaning it has the same design as an experiment, but without the random sampling. It's also a pretest post-test control group design, in which the pretest was a paragraph fill-in and exit ticket, where all students were restricted from social media access. The post-test followed the same format, but the control group continued to be restricted from social media access, while the experimental group was permitted access. This led me to evaluate whether the treatment, being social media access, had an impact on retention and classwork. This study used a non-probability convenience sample due to the fact that the sample was chosen solely because they were available to me, being in my world civilizations classes. As you can see, the sample is not very racially diverse and is made up of all 9th grade females, both honors and non-honors. Data collection was conducted using 3 different methods: tests, consisting of the paragraph fill-ins and exit tickets; the tally system, used to record the amount of time it took students to complete assignments; and a questionnaire, which required students to identify forms of social media they used during assignment completion. In comparing the scores on the post-test for treatment and control groups, the findings suggested a clear difference as seen by the yellow highlighted numbers, which represent scores as percentages. For the honors class, there was a difference of 7.45% between the control and treatment group scores, with the control group scoring an average of 70.8% with a standard deviation of 15.1%, and the treatment group scoring an average of 63.35% with a standard deviation of 21.3%. The p-value indicated that the difference was strongly statistically significant, as seen by the green highlighted number on the chart. For the college prep class, there was a difference of 13.78% between the control and treatment groups, with the control group scoring an average of 67.43% with a standard deviation of 17.7%, and the treatment group scoring an average of 53.65% with a standard deviation of 20.7%. The p-value indicated the difference was very highly statistically significant, as seen by the green highlighted number on the chart. In comparing the time it took to complete the post-test for treatment and control groups, the findings again suggested a clear difference as seen by the yellow highlighted numbers. For the honors class, there was a difference of 2.5 minutes between the control and treatment groups, with the control group taking an average of 18.25 minutes with a standard deviation of 3.7 minutes, and the treatment group taking an average of 20.75 minutes with a standard deviation of 2.9 minutes. The p-value indicated that the difference was highly statistically significant, as seen by the green highlighted number on the chart. For the college prep class, there was a difference of 8.7 minutes between the control and treatment groups, with the control group taking an average of 19.35 minutes with a standard deviation of 3.8 minutes, and the treatment group taking an average of 28.04 minutes with a standard deviation of 6.7 minutes. The p-value indicated that the difference was very highly statistically significant, as seen by the green highlighted number on the chart. The bar graph and table on this slide represent data collected by a SurveyMonkey questionnaire asking students in the treatment group what forms of media they engaged in while completing their post-test assignment. According to the data, 73.61% of students reported listening to music while completing the assignment, with Spotify being the majority choice, followed by YouTube and Apple Music or iTunes. 47.23% of students reported engaging in some form of messaging service, with iMessage being the majority choice, followed by Gmail and GChat. 13.9% of students reported engaging in typical forms of social media, with Instagram being the majority choice, followed by Visco. 5.56% of students reported themselves as engaging in some other form of media, including online games and word processing apps for other homework. Still, 27.78% of students reported not using any other forms of media while completing the assignment. In regards to retention, there are several impacts suggested by the data. First, media may distract students from content being studied. By logging onto these alternate web pages and apps, students let their minds wander away from the information in class and towards a multitude of issues that pop up along their feeds. This may cause the content information to be deemed of less importance by students and pushed to the back of their minds, therefore making it more difficult to recall that information. Additionally, the data indicates that listening to music was the majority avenue for media used by students, lending to the idea that it may be detrimental to comprehension. Students may be listening to the words of the song or trying to drown them out at the same time they're attempting to read and process content information. All of these factors, together with the data analysis indicating lower comprehension scores for the treatment group, suggest that retention may suffer from media multitasking. In connection with the literature reviewed for this study, the results seem to agree with Duncan, Hoekstra, and Wilcox's suggestion that media multitasking has a negative impact on learning outcomes, namely grades. Here, students engaged in media multitasking scored lower on the exit tickets, which reflect learning outcomes. In addition, Kane, Leonard, Gabrielli, and Finn's indication that media multitasking can lower working memory may be validated by this study in that students' short-term memory in switching from reading the information to correctly answering questions about it showed a deficiency. In regards to classwork completion, the data suggests that time spent on media distracts students from completing assignments within the classroom in a timely manner. This can have implications within the larger class period or course in that it may take time away from other non-media related classwork and may reduce the time teachers can spend on other content. Each time a student checks into forms of media, like Instagram, or goes to change a song on a site like Spotify, the time they spend scrolling through images or searching for a suitable song adds onto their classwork completion time. Therefore, as students are given more opportunities for access to media, the time it takes them to complete classwork may increase. In regards to the literature review, Agard suggested that students may use this time as short, self-directed mental breaks from the content that allow them to then refresh and refocus. However, the question becomes whether students are truly using media for this purpose and whether they'll have the ability and self-control to pull themselves away from the media and separate it from their classwork. My next action steps involve sharing this information and using it to benefit students and teachers. First, I plan to share this information with faculty and administration at our next faculty meeting in May. By presenting these results, my hopes are that it will provide concrete evidence suggesting that we use more traditional forms of instruction and resources in lieu of those that may encourage media multitasking. While technology has its benefits, it's clear from this study that it can also hinder students and time spent in the classroom. In sharing the results with the students involved in this study, they remain informed participants. My hope is that by seeing how their grades and their time spent completing activities may be negatively affected by their media use, they may think twice before putting on music or toggling between their work and social media. Because our students are constantly lamenting over the time it takes them to complete homework, I believe that sharing these results may encourage them to eliminate these and other distractions while engaging in schoolwork, thus reducing homework time. That being said, I would like to continue this study by replicating it with other variables, environments, or tasks. Using different grade levels, studying male students, and assigning different types of activities are all variations on this study that I believe could be a beneficial addition to the research. Finally, I hope to reduce access to media forms in my own classroom by opting for simple paper and pencil assignments when possible. This will eliminate the pull towards media multitasking and hopefully contribute positively to retention and classwork completion. Thanks for listening.